Thank you for auditing Professor Skye's record review, where normally I talk about new music, but I'm not going to be doing that now. See, I'm going on vacation for a few weeks. That's going to be a long time, and I shouldn't leave you without some dope thoughts to sleeve to, so I want to share a story with you, okay? And it's going to be a personal story, so maybe you don't care. But in this story, you are going to learn about how a straight-edge kid can become a deadhead. You can learn about how people used to trade audio tapes, a whole bunch of sort of pre-internet archaeology for you. You're going to see amazing pieces of music memorabilia, including what I believe to be one of the few combo Grateful Dead Star Wars collectibles in the world. Lots of autographs, tapes, personal stuff. Because it all goes back to this one fact, which may be surprising. If you watch this channel, you're probably really into like indie rock or underground rap music or mainstream rap music. You might not believe it, but I was a teenage deadhead. So if you don't know the Grateful Dead, then this video won't make any sense to you. But if you do, they were a very important band that toured basically permanently from 1965 until 1995. And they had a huge following, mostly of what were called Deadheads, which were, by the time I started watching them, mostly private school kids who had a fair trust fund, who could travel around and watch a band play, do lots of drugs, and have lots of fun playing hacky sack, devil sticks, two hobbies which I'm both very good at. So the fact that I was a deadhead is not too surprising when you consider the fact that two of my older brothers were deadheads. They went to prep schools, and they went to, I think, 40 shows each, and they'd bring their tapes, because the Grateful Dead, I think, were the first real band that allowed you to tape. They'd bring tape recorders with their little microphones and actually record, and they'd tour, and they'd hang out, and they'd do the whole parking lot thing. So, I looked up to my brothers, and so I wanted to like the Grateful Dead. Except there's one sort of problem, which is, if one thing you know about me and my personal life, I hate drugs. I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs. I was, especially in high school, I wasn't just somebody who didn't do drugs. I was straight edge. I mean, I would not eat Oreo cookies, because Oreo cookies were owned by R.J. Reynolds, who owned Camel cigarettes and other tobacco companies. Okay? Like, that was how hardcore I was into being straight edge. So how could I love the band, which is synonymous with drugs? When I teach, if I see a student wearing a Grateful Dead sweatshirt, I don't think, oh, that student likes music. I think, okay, that student wants other students to know that they party, man. They do drugs, they get high, right? So how could this possibly happen? Well, and this may come as a shock to you. The Grateful Dead are awesome. They're like one of the greatest bands that ever existed. And seeing them in concert 20 times, I saw them 20 times. Mind you, Jerry Garcia died when I was 18 years old, okay? So 17, when I was 17 years old, okay? Actually, I think I might have still been 16. Point is, I was really young when Jerry Garcia died. I saw them 20 times before then. Every show was great. Every show was amazing. Every show was a full 3 hours. The sets were completely different. Set 1, hour and a half. Set 2, hour and a half, with a cool kind of freak out in the middle. I don't know if I liked the Dead because I didn't do drugs and it's a way for me to connect with that part of the world. I don't know if it's just simply that their music was that good. But it all really, really kicked into gear when I was visiting my brother, who moved out to California. And he just asked me on a whim. I was there for Christmas. I believe that was the same year I got the Atari Lynx video game system. It was a kick-ass Christmas. Man, TNC Surf, I think that was the game I played on that. Oh, man. It was a handheld video game that had a hacky sack game on it. It was the 90s. So this was December 28th, 1990. He took me to a Dead show at the I don't even know what it was called then. It's now called the O.Co. It's where the Warriors used to play before they sold out and moved to San Francisco. So, it was my third show ever. I was, at that point, I was 13 years old. It was my first show ever. I was in 8th grade. And the funny thing was, I went to a private school for 2 years. I had a terrible, terrible time. People were very cruel to me. They would walk behind me because I let my hair grow a little bit out. But I noticed I didn't say grow long, I grew it out. So it kind of got all puffy. So they'd walk behind me and say, look, it's Biscuit Head. It's Biscuit Head. But when I came back from Christmas break and I told them, guys, I went to a Grateful Dead show, all of a sudden I had some social capital. because a private school is exactly where deadheads are born. In that place, that is where once you get to high school, you go to a dead show, you experiment with drugs, you do drugs, you have sex, do drugs, see the dead, all kind of mixed up. It's all like a rite of passage for the children of the 1%, you know? So that was funny. You know, it was a great show. It wasn't the New Year's show, it was 2 days before. It was still quite good. I don't remember any specifics of the show. I think they played He's Gone, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. And then I went to public high school, you know, and all that social capital is all gone. There's no deadheads in public school, you know. It's funny because a lot of the things that we associate as being all hippie and free love stuff is really just a question of privilege, you know. But there was one guy, and he was a freshman like me. I think he was a couple years older than me. He was like 6'2". I think he had like almost a beard. He had hair down to here. And his name was Bill Dube. And if you're out there, Bill, dude, I've been trying to find you. I hope you're doing well. I owe a lot to you. I'm sorry that I ended our friendship for the reasons that I will explain very soon. You were a really cool dude with me, you know? So Bill Dube and I would hang out. And like, he was a bad boy, okay? Like I would go and watch him smoke cigarettes in the bathroom. You know, I never smoked, you know, at least not then. I never smoked in high school. And I would I would like get in trouble for smoking because I would just hang around with Bill. But the thing that Bill knew all about was jam bands. So he was all into the incredible string cheese, he was all into Fish, and he was really into Grateful Dead. So this was great because this was a way that I could make a new friend in a new school and explore this thing that I just knew a little bit about. And he told me about tape trading. So I told you, my brothers had some tapes, right? And this is a standard thing. Every Deadhead had a collection of tapes. You know, sometimes small, sometimes big. Because the secret about the Grateful Dead is their studio albums are garbage. Hey, are you a Deadhead watching this? I'm sorry. I just said the truth. They're garbage. They're garbage. Bad music. Bad. Ugh. Yeah. All right, Working Men's Dead's okay. But beyond that, just their studio stuff, okay, it's fine. But their live music is where they're great. And you can buy the compilations, but back then there weren't that many. So he taught me how to trade tapes. And this is where things get wild. There was a magazine called Relics. I used to have a copy of Relics kicking around, but I don't know. I've been cleaning out my father's house. He passed a couple months ago, so I found a lot of these relics, and that's why I'm there. But I didn't find the magazine Relics. And in the back of magazine Relics, which is all dedicated to jam bands, the articles are fine, everything's fine, but in the very back, people advertise. They advertise their tape lists. So you send them a letter in the mail, and then they send you an 8x10 piece of paper with all of the tapes that they have. You then get an envelope and send them blank tapes. Blank tapes and $2 for postage, okay? No money. You don't pay for anything. You never buy a bootleg, ever. It's a whole hippy-dippy thing. And then they make a dub, okay? So they have their tape decks and they copy from one to the other and they send you the copy. And then you have that tape. And if someone wants to trade with you, of course, the quality gets worse every time. And that's the main thing that's better now. Now every single show is available. It's online and you can find it in the perfect sound quality. But back then, it was like this crazy hunt to try to find good sounding tapes. So I have some things for you. I want to show you what it looked like. Okay. So my father had a Xerox machine. I don't know why, but he always wanted a Xerox machine. So I made, this is an example of one of the tapes. So I actually made my own tape cases. You see? So it says Skye Peas, and I put the little roses up there, Live Dead, Live Dead, and then that would be the name of the show. So here it would say Live Dead. There's the date, 2/13/1970. This is like maybe their most famous show. It's great for a reason. The Dark Star is incredible. Set 2. So they played 2 hour-and-a-half shows. Okay, so this was the second set. The second set's always best because that's where they get their trippiest. That's where they play the longest. That's where it's mostly uninterrupted music. It's just where they go so far out there. I would always prioritize set 2. There's the venue, okay, Fillmore East, New York City, and then SB. So there's different kinds of tapes you can get. You can get the ones that people make in the audience. Those are called audience tapes, AUD, where you set up the little microphones and you record like that. But this is the good stuff. This is where somehow, someone, somewhere got a copy of the tape that was made by Dick something. I don't know, there's a whole bunch of different guys who were making tapes for the Dead at the time. So this was like a second or third generation tape. And then I would write out the set list here. I would just find some random Dead imagery. I like this image of a crow quite a bit. And so I'd write there. So, it's Dark Star into, into Cryptical, into drums, into the other one. Wow, that's crazy. Side B, other one, back to Cryptical. Then into Love Light, and then We Bid You Good Night. Oh, the show's so good. So, so you put little arrows to indicate that things go into the next thing, and there you have it. There you have your tape, and you have the same kind of thing. What you'll notice is how unbelievably organized I was on this, and it's funny because at the time I was like a C student. I was like failing out of English and science. I took remedial science. I didn't take math past sophomore year of high school. I was a total dunderheaded dunce. But when it came to collecting Dead tapes, I was just totally on it, Like, look at this. It's pretty cool, right? So over the years, I got hundreds of tapes. This is my personal favorite. 215-73, Dane County Coliseum, Madison, Wisconsin. I absolutely love this set too. If there's any one Dead tape to ever listen to, that's it. A great one from the 80s, Greek Theater. So you see, I had little different images. There's one of Jerry. True story. The number one article of clothing that I wear in my daily life is a black V-neck. I wear that because of Jerry Garcia, but don't tell my wife. He only ever wore black t-shirts. And I kind of like... I know Jerry Garcia wasn't technically a sex symbol, but I just do that. This is one that's in Rochester. It's not the best. It's not the best show. My drawing right there isn't the best drawing either. This is later on, but it's in Rochester, New York, which is where I live now. And then another great show from October 1968. Look at that with the different images of the different artists. Great picture of Phil there. You see, I even have little tapes there and the little lightning bolt. So this was like my big passion, freshman, sophomore, part of junior year. And the thing that I just found, and this is what really trips me out, man, is I found all of the people I used to trade with. So, and again, just because now on the internet, right, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody. It's way better now than it used to be, okay? So who cares that I did it this way? That's fine, it was fun. Like the feeling of getting a new tape in the mail was like the greatest feeling I've ever had going to the mailbox, okay? It's just the absolute greatest, just so freaking excited, okay? But, so, this right here is a list of everybody who I traded with. This is a little commercial for a book called Dead Base. Dead Base was a book that was self-published by these guys who collected every single Dead show that had ever been made and had the set list for every show. I gave my copy of that to my brother Ward. So my older brother Ward is still a big Deadhead. I don't listen to the Dead more than 3 or 4 times a year now. I love them, but I don't listen to that much. He listens to them all the time. So I actually gave him like 100 of my tapes. So he has all the rest of these tapes. I just took like my absolute favorites, So it's really fun because we have lots of interesting things on here. We have, for example, my list. Okay, so I traded with my friend Ben and Brad, and we were BBS, Ben, Brad, and Skye. And there's a list. There's our list of all the tapes that we had and had all the important information. So there's the date, there's the place, which set is it, is it soundboard or audience, what's the length, what is the grade? We had to give a grade for the sound. Is it A, B, C? No, I think we said, yeah, excellent, good, or fair. That was how we did the grades. Most of our stuff was good plus. And then notes. Sometimes I would know the generation of the tape. So if it was the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th generation, sometimes I'd have little notes like here, this was an acid test. This is missing Beat It On Down the Line. This one is one of the shows without Bill Kreutzmann. This one I said is my favorite show, 5977. I was being a contrarian because everyone loves 5877 and Cornell. I like the one in Buffalo. I don't know. And then also on top of that, we also had all sorts of Led Zeppelin tapes, Jimi Hendrix tapes, Jane's Addiction, Guns N' Roses, Fish, Stevie Ray Vaughan, The Who, Rolling Stones. I really had quite a crazy collection of bootlegs, which now all belongs to my brother. Sorry, it's very hot here in Rochester, New York. So, and reading what I wrote. Hello, we collect any live music we like, regardless of style. We do not use Dolby or high-speed dubbing, and we ask the same of you. Because the thing is, these tapes, the quality of these tapes is pretty bad. So you use Dolby, which was supposed to make it sound better, made things sound muted, okay? We are always very quick in returning tapes unless something unexpected pops up. We only use Type 2 Maxell or TDK types. Maxell is preferred. We run either by trades or by blanks and postage method. Please indicate your preference. Whatever we do, we want it to be mellow. Hope to hear from you soon. Whatever we do, we want it to be mellow. Oh my God. Oh, another bonus here. In my freshman year, I had to take a computer class so I could learn how to use computer. And so I got into Mac Paint, and I made this totally sick Grateful Dead logo. Come on. Tell me in the comments, how sweet of a logo is that? How sweet is it that I misspelled grateful on Grateful Dead? And that's the attempt at the Steal Your Face logo. So yeah, so this is really cool because this has where I got all of the tapes, So this is from some guy named Scott Wilson, and if it's in blue, then that means it's a tape that I ordered from them. So I got 11/1966 at the Fillmore and 7/27/73 at Watkins Glen. I remember that. It's a good show. And another cool thing is I actually saved all of the correspondence as well. This is madness. I can't believe, So here's some just notes from Scott. Be well. You have a very interesting list. And don't let me know if you're interested. I would like, and he says what he wants. And then we send him back. And it's just really cool because it was this whole system it was like an actual hippie dream, where no one was trying to make money. No one was trying to screw anybody over. We all just loved this music and we all wanted to build up our collection and we all wanted to get as many as we could of these hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of shows, Oh, I remember this guy. This guy took forever to send me stuff. Oh, he had a great collection though. Wow. So anyways, I could spend too much time here looking at these. But I think it's just a fun reminder of the fact that, maybe if you feel like you're a screw-up in life, maybe you're not a screw-up. You're just putting your attention in the wrong place, which is what I did for all of my life. I also happened to find this recently, which was my notebook, my journal from when I went to a Unitarian camp. Which is worse than it sounds. It was hell on earth. Everyone was hugging and drinking Earl Grey tea. But I went to a Unitarian hippy-dippy camp with Bill Dube and my friend Ben, one of the guys who I traded tapes with. And here's one of my drawings. Happiness is a fresh blank. So that's a TDK tape. And I'm like sort of talking about how happy I am to do this. And so all these notes, I'm talking about like what I'm listening to while I'm here. I'm like having all these like weird moments. And then this is a wild thing that I just discovered. I did this drawing of Jerry Garcia. And I wrote out every single song that Jerry Garcia sang, or at least most of them. And I did this because this was right after he went into one of his comas. So 2 times Jerry Garcia almost died. One time he did die. And this was like in 92, in the summer of 92. And I'm pretty sure that I had tickets to see him play, to see the Dead play in that fall, because they were going to do an East Coast tour. So I was heartbroken. So he wasn't dead yet. He wouldn't die for another 3 years. But you can see here that I actually put his birth date, right? Wait, let me see if I remember. August 1st. Of course I remember. August 1st, 1942. And then I put blank, 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 and 9, because I knew that Jerry Garcia was going to die in the 90s. And I even mention it here, last day, weird, not much to say, bummed about Jerry. So I really thought Jerry was going to die, and I was going to have lived my entire life only having seen them that one time. Fortunately, I saw them more than that. Jerry Garcia got got better. Jerry Garcia never really got better. He just learned how to manage his addictions enough to perform. What do I know? But I managed. They came to the Boston Garden, and this was how awesome it was to be a Dead fan. They played the Boston Garden. And I had a lot of problems with my parents. My parents were awfully careless and not always great parents, but they were super giving with concert tickets. If I said I wanted to go to a show, they said, great, let's go. So however upset I could possibly be at them for other stuff, that was a super awesome policy on their part. With one exception, which I'll get to soon. So they played 6 nights in Boston in 1993. I think it was September. I went to all 6 shows. I didn't see a single repeat song. You understand me? You understand what it was like to see the Grateful Dead, to love this music and to be there. And yeah, there's all the hippies spinning around. There's the whole freak show. Okay. But like, I was in it, man. You think I wasn't like tripping? I was. I wasn't on drugs. I was on this music that is intentionally created to simulate the effect of being on drugs. I was out of my mind. It was a transcendental experience every single show. All 6 nights. I went to most of them with my friend Brad. His parents were a little bit more careful and didn't let him go to all 6. I think he went to 3 or 4. And it was just the best. And it was funny because there were some kids who went to the shows in my high school, but no one was going to all 6, So that was 1993. Later in 1993, I saw the Jerry Garcia band in Worcester. And that's mainly interesting because 3 days earlier, I'd seen Nirvana play at Fitchburg, which means the 2 most important deaths, music deaths in the 90s, outside of rap, I saw both of them within the span of 4 days. Absolutely bizarre. Between Nirvana and Jerry Garcia band, the best band I saw that week was the Breeders, who opened up for Nirvana. They were amazing. Although, I do remember a song which I don't even, Midnight Moonlight, Jerry played it. So the thing about the Grateful Dead that's really hard to understand is that Jerry Garcia was the center of everything. And there's many other members. My favorite member was Phil Lesh, the bass player. But Jerry was the center. And part of what made him such an amazing center is he would stand there and he would perform and he would never move. He would never address the audience. I saw him lift his arm exactly once in 20 Dead shows and 1 Jerry Garcia band show. That's 3 hours a show. So that's 60 hours plus 3 hours. 63 hours of seeing somebody perform. And the amount of emoting that I saw him do was raise his hand once. No smiles, no talking, no kicks, no hand waves, no jokes, no nothing. That might have been why I never got into Fish. I saw Fish at the Orpheum in 1992, very early, a very small theater in Boston. And they were great, but they were on trampolines and they were doing a cappella and they were just trying so hard. It was very impressive, but it just didn't have that for me. And then 1994, I saw them again, 6 shows again in Boston Garden, including 1 show for the 3rd row. And this is what was cool. Getting tickets back then, you could go on the phone, but I had a little hack. There was a clothing store in Massachusetts called Filene's. And for some reason, Filene's had a Ticketmaster deal. So you could go to the first floor of Filene's and go there at 10 o'clock in the morning when tickets go on sale and just walk up and just buy Grateful Dead tickets. They sell out in seconds. They sell out in minutes, right? And I just went there and I got 1 show. I was in the 6th row, I think. 3rd row, 6th row. And I remember because I walked up and there was somebody in my seat. It was this beautiful woman. I was totally hard up. Never had a date in high school. And she was spinning and dancing. And I was like, oh, geez, is this going to be a meet cute? And then she smelled exactly like a hot onion pizza. And I said, hey, I'd like my seat, please. And I had an amazing moment. So I went to those shows. I went to 1 show with a friend of my brother's who was sort of babysitting me, but not really. I think he was tripping balls. It was very weird. And the funny thing was, around this time, I almost did a deal with the devil. So I used to go to a ticket scalper. He had a little office in Alewife. It's a place in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I used to buy scalp tickets from him. And I told him that I got tickets to see the Dead and I didn't need tickets. And he's like, really? You were able to get tickets? Hey, I think you might be able to help me out. I was like, what do you mean? Well, I can get you free tickets to any show you want to see if you help me. I was like, oh, how does that work? Here, I'm going to give you my phone number and just give me a call. And you just buy tickets for me and I'll buy you 1 for you. And you just give me the rest. And I'll, of course, pay you for them. And then you'll be able to get into all these shows. And I was like, awesome. Sounds great. And then I go home and I was like, oh, no. Then I'd be a scalper. I'd be doing a deal with the devil. That was also the 1994, the 5th night of the show was the last time I saw Bill Dube. So I saw Bill Dube. I hadn't seen him. I think I stopped being friends with him because think he was like trying to deal out of my house. So I got upset with that. And I saw him, and like we had this nice conversation, and he just goes, "You still know Puff?" I was like, "Excuse me? You still know Puff?" I was like, "I'm sorry, Bill, I don't know what you're talking about." "Puff. You still know Puff?" I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't puff. I don't puff the marijuana." And he's like, "Okay, cool, man. I got to go find a glass pipe." And then he just disappeared. Again, if you're out there, let me know. It's funny because am I being a narc? Everyone thought I was a narc because I'd go to these shows. I didn't have long hair. I didn't have a scraggy beard. I didn't wear a poncho. By the way, if you ever go to a jam band and you see someone wearing a poncho, that's a ticket scalper. Yeah, like I didn't look like a Deadhead. I looked like just a straight-laced kid. So people actually looked at me like I was a narc. There's one Grateful Dead show I didn't get to go to, which was where Bill Dube offered to drive me and a bunch of his friends who are girls down to see the Dead at Giants Stadium. And my parents thought it would be a bad idea because they were afraid I might do drugs. And I got real mad at the hypocrisy of that. I don't think I've ever been more mad at them. It's like the only time they ever said no because like I was like this good kid who didn't do anything bad except be bad at school. The final time I saw them in concert was my brother's wedding in Chicago in 1995. And the magic was gone. It was a bad show. Jerry was not well. I was done. By that point, I was done. When Jerry finally died, like a little bit later, I'd already mourned him, you know? I'd already had my moment. Like, I was sort of like, oh well, too bad. You want to hear about the autographs? I told you, man. This is an interesting video, I hope. Tell me if it is. Leave a comment if you like this. If you leave a comment that says AVAA, awesome video as always, I always give it a heart. That's my promise. Even on vacation, I'll check once a day. So I have a friend named Dave, one of my best friends, and he lived in Marin County, which is the county right above San Francisco. And that's where all the guys from the Dead lived. And he's just this weird guy who knows celebrities. Like, he once got DJ Shadow's autograph. And like, what does DJ Shadow look like, you know? Seriously, right? So he knew that I was a big Deadhead, and he would run into the Dead all the time. So he slowly put together an autograph collection for me that is absolutely insane. And I'm going to share that with you. My favorite is Phil Lesh, the bass player. And this was the first one he got me. And what's cool about this is from the Woodlands Market in Kentfield, California. Okay, 735 College Avenue. My friend bought a deli sandwich for $5.49 and $5.69 of salmon fillet. God damn inflation. Jesus. So this was on 2004, October 20th, 2004, at the Woodlands Market. Okay? And so I had just started grad school. And I told my friend Dave how much trouble I was having with Proust, because I was taking a class on Proust. And he was having a conversation with Phil Lesh about this. So Phil Lesh signed this autograph to me. Skye, rock on, Phil Lesh. More Mallarmé, less Proust. So Mallarmé is this very confusing symbolist poet that's loved by hippies and intellectuals. So it's like the coolest possible dedication. Like he heard my situation and he was just like, you know what? I think I need to say more Mallarmé, less Proust. So that's the first one. Now the next one was frankly hilarious. So I just have to read this story. If you are a fan of the Grateful Dead, you will find this very funny. How would you imagine meeting Bob Weir? Okay? If you don't know Bob Weir, he's famous for like wearing short shorts, for being a health nut, for being kind of like almost the opposite of Jerry Garcia. Skye, 12/1/2004. This is like a month after the last one. Seems I left the second message prematurely. I saw Bob shortly after on my way to the cereal section. So this is at Whole Foods, in the cereal section. He was getting some dried goods and already had a pen in hand to write down the bin number on the twisty tag. He was totally cool, kind of shy actually. I thanked him and said I was sorry to bother him. He had a lot of apples in his cart. So this is my Bobby Weir autograph. Hi, Skye, Bobby Weir. Right? How frickin' awesome is that? He had a pen to write down. You know, this guy is worth $50 million. I don't know how much money they make on touring. A lot of money. But he's still there, and he has dried goods and apples. It's like the exact thing you imagine. Now, the next story gets kind of sweet because I helped my friend who was taking care of his mom who was ill, and so I wanted to help him. So I took him to this like caretaker's retreat in Marin County, and he happened to meet someone there who was going through the same thing as him, and they became really good friends. And she, it turns out, it was Bill Kreutzmann's manager. Okay? So one of the drummers for the Grateful Dead signed this to Skye, Bill Kreutzmann. Okay? This is 2006. I know school and life was super busy lately. I'm sure you got it under control, though. I had dinner with this woman last night, and she mentioned she was going to Kreutzmann's house for a women's group his wife hosts. I hope the autograph still counts, even though I didn't get it myself. 17 days till Sakir. My best, Dave. Dave also is a big Formula One fan, and he actually interviewed Phil Lesh for Formula One magazine once. So there's that, and then she also, because Mickey Hart was known, because they knew Mickey Hart, she also helped get me a Mickey Hart autograph. This is a little more official, This doesn't have quite the grime as the other, but it's just a very special thing. And then the final thing that he got me is this woman who was Bill Kreutzmann's friend and manager. My friend Dave mentioned that I'm a big Star Wars fan and a Star Wars collector. I have a big Chewbacca collection. And I didn't know this. The Grateful Dead's album, was it not Touch of Grey? Alone in the Dark? In the Dark? In the Dark. So I don't own any studio Grateful Dead albums. The one from the 80s that had the hit was recorded at Skywalker Sound, George Lucas's Skywalker Sound. And to thank them, Skywalker Sound gave them all sweatshirts. And Bill Kreutzmann did not want his sweatshirt. So I have a Skywalker Ranch shirt given to Bill Kreutzmann by Lucasfilm. Did George Lucas himself give this? I don't know. Is this the most Marin County object there has ever been? Would I sell this for $10 million? Maybe, but not for $9. Isn't that awesome? So yeah. I still enjoy it. I still enjoy listening to the Dead. I said I would never go and see the Dead and Company. It's just the reason that I wouldn't do it. Like, I don't blame anybody who goes who never saw the Dead when Jerry was alive. A pale imitation is still better than nothing. I laughed because I said to my brother that my brother wouldn't see them if they were playing for free in his hometown. And I think that's true. I did end up seeing the Dead and Co. in Philadelphia because my family was in Philadelphia and we had nothing to do. And it was great. It was great. A lot of fun. John Mayer was surprisingly adequate of a replacement. It lacked a lot of the magic. It lacked a lot of the soul. But it was still fine, So there's my story with the Grateful Dead. Someone wanted me to talk about this, and I hope it's interesting. As I look back at this memory of me, 30 years ago, collecting these tapes and thinking about these things and all this great memorabilia, I still rock the black t-shirts. I still look like a narc. I still don't do drugs. I still would say that this is like one of the best pieces of music on earth. Oh my God. Yeah. It's the Dark Star into like a bass solo into Eyes of the World into China Doll. Oh. I will say that I remember listening. I don't remember what the show was. It was a 1972 show, I think. It was a version of the song "He's Gone," and I listened to it with my friend Brad, and we had it on a boombox, and I get it. I guess I get it. I mean, I wasn't doing drugs, but I felt like I could see the music. I felt like I had touched God. Music doesn't, even though I listen to so much music and I love it so much and Mozart makes me cry and stuff like that, still just that experience, that one day just sitting around on some summer listening to this performance and this great heavy bass and singing and chorus, it was just great. And that's what the Grateful Dead can do. And that's what it did for me. All right. That's fun. This was fun. I hope you enjoyed this too. I know it's self-indulgent, but I hope that it's interesting to sort of see the analog days of collecting and the way things were. I don't know. Who cares? All right, until next time, there's the camera.